Hello, it's Cisvolk. Time to enjoy card making with me. For the card I am making today, I will be using this refined gleaming 6 by 6 inch patterned paper. I showed them before in my design products video. I will use this beautiful flower background stamp and also I will use this happy birthday die, which I will use in a different way. I have vellum and also will I use sentiments from the stamp and die set. I made them a while ago. This is such beautiful paper. It is like alcohol colored paper and I don't know which one I'm going to choose. But I'm looking now for one that has both green and pink in it. Such as this one maybe. It is most fun if it's a sheet of paper with two different colors on it. I could probably use this one or this one. Both are good for the technique I am working on today. I will show you the name. It's the refined gleaming 6 by 6 patterned paper. Okay, I want to stamp on this part of the paper, the part where you see two colors. I place the paper close in the corner of my stamping tool. I want to stamp as much of the paper as possible, so I place the stamp like this, slightly off the edge. These corners are not stamped, but that doesn't matter. In the corner it is always very bad stamping in such a stamping tool. Now I pick up the stamp from the paper so that it sticks to the lid. And I'm going to ink up the stamp once with Memento Lux ink. This first print doesn't have to be perfect right away. You'll see why in a moment. Now I do want to be able to see all the figures properly and there's a bit bare in the middle, so I stamp it one more time. As long as the paper sits in exactly the same place again, it's not a problem. I let the ink dry for a while because for the next step it's important that the ink is completely dry. Now I'm going to color with a Posca marker. This Posca marker contains white acrylic paint. I have number PC3M, which has a thin tip. You have to shake it well before using it. Now I'm going to color in some petals. It doesn't have to be perfectly inside the lines, because I'm going to stamp a second layer over them later. In any case, I try not to go over the stamped line, but to color on or in the line. This is a very relaxing thing to do. This way it becomes like a daisy. If you do not have a white Posca marker, you could try doing it with a brush with white acrylic paint, or a white gel pen, or a very oily white pencil maybe. And how about white Tipp-Ex maybe? I suppose it's easiest and the result is best with this marker, but you should always leave something to be wished for, shouldn't you? You could also choose to leave some leaves a bit open by only coloring the edges. Again, it is not a problem if you color a little bit over a black line, because we still have the stamp in the stamp tool and we are stamping another layer over it. Now I've colored in all the petals and now I'm taking out a narrower Posca marker. This is one with a thinner tip. This is a PC1M and the one I just picked up, that was a PC3M. With this thin tip I put dots in the hearts of the flowers and I add extra detail in the petals. In each heart I put a number of dots. And in each petal I put 2 or 3 thin lines starting from the center of the flower to 2/3 of the petal. It's not a big deal if you go outside the lines, so that's how I continue with the whole sheet. Now it's dry and because I want to heat emboss the top layer of ink, I will put some talcum powder over it. In this homemade embossing pouch there is talcum powder. It prevents embossing powder from sticking to places where I don't want powder. Now I take my stamp tool out again and you can see that the stamp is still in the tool. Now I'm going to stamp on the exact same spot again and heat emboss over it. Again, I'm using the same Memento Lux ink. And look how beautiful it is already. But you can use any ink that is suitable for heat embossing. I will be heat embossing with ALINACRAFT transparent embossing powder. I wrote a T on the lid myself because I don't want to confuse it with the white embossing powder. Shake off the excess embossing powder and sprinkle it back into the jar. You can still blow away the last grains. Don't shake too hard or too much will fall off. On this paper it is best to emboss from below. Look how nice it is shining already. If I were to emboss from above, the powder would get into the paper and it wouldn't get such a nice bulge. Also, don't emboss in the same spot for too long and only start when the heat tool is up to temperature. I have two Decotime aqua markers here, but any kind of aqua marker will do, as long as it's water-based marker. I'm going to use the green marker on the green parts and the pink marker on the pink parts. My marker has a brush side and a fine side. I'm using the fine side. With the pink marker I'm going to put dots in the leaves on the pink background. You can't see much of it yet, but you will soon see why I do this. And this was color number 3, for those who want to know. Now I'll move on to number 60, which is teal. I'm going to take the fine point again. And now I'm going to put dots in all the leaves on the green backgrounds. I chose a green and a pink marker that are close in color to the colors of the paper. So if you use another color of pattern paper, pick out an aqua marker in the same color shade as the paper for the best result. The next thing I'm going to do might surprise you, but you should see how unexpected the effect is. I'm now taking a water brush to it. My water brush is from Tombow. I have a tissue to wipe my water brush on. Can you see that it gives off almost no water? Now I'm going to color all the leaves that have dots in them, just by brushing over them with the water brush. After coloring a few leaves, I wipe my brush clean and dry. I don't want too much ink on the brush. Because I embossed with embossing powder, it's very easy to stay within the lines of the leaves. The dots remain visible, and I like that. It gives an extra touch to the whole thing. You can also use an ordinary brush, but make sure that you dry it thoroughly every time. The paper can't handle too much wetness. Of course, it is not watercolor paper, so I can't use too much water, but I can make it a little wet. That's why the dots stay put. You could also make dashes instead of little dots. Now you can clearly see that the dots on the pink paper are pink and the dots on the green part are green. I've here a normal card base of an A4 sheet cut in half and I folded it in half. I have already stamped and written my name on the back. And now I want to have this panel on my card. My preference is this side so that the green part will also be on the card. I first take off the unstamped edge. And now I mark off how much to cut off. It's 9.5 centimeters by 13.8 centimeters for if you want to measure it exactly. That's 1 centimeter smaller than the card. I always find it helpful to make a mark with a pencil, so I don't accidentally cut wrong. Save the leftover piece, we can always put it to good use. What we need now is a piece of vellum. It's 20 sheets of 155 grams vellum in A4 format. I'm going to cut a strip of 5 centimeters, about 2 inches. Here I have the ALINACRAFT Happy Birthday text. And I'm going to cut that 4 times out of white paper and once out of black paper. I will now cut the 2 parts loose. I cut very carefully, following the round shape of the letter. This I also cut off. I save this for later. For now I'm only going to use the word happy. I place the text back in the form where I had die cut it. And now I'm going to paint it with glossy watercolor. This is the Speciality Color set by Rembrandt. Very nice glossy watercolor that gives a beautiful effect, especially on black paper. I'm now coloring the entire text. It's cool when it's shiny and dry. Now I can imagine that you do not have such paint. In that case, you can also use shiny paper to die cut out, or you could make your own shiny paper with, for example, glitter or embossing powder. I'm going to show both variations, which is why I have 2 strips of vellum lying in front of me. In the meantime, I have also glued 3 layers of white die cuts on top of each other, which I put on top of the strip of vellum. The single white die will be under the strip of vellum. Now I want to glue it nice and straight, so I take the negative form, the part that was left over after die cutting, and so I use that negative as a template in which the text fits. Especially with such intricate dies with narrow text, it's nice to have a template. I want to stick the happy straight onto the vellum, and this way it works really well. I immediately dab away the excess glue with a tissue. I do this for the birthday text as well. Especially with these 3 separate parts, you can then see very well where the letter should be placed. It's a patient job, but really gives such a beautiful result. Now comes the single layer on the bottom of the vellum. In doing so, I glue to the top of the text. Actually, it is much easier to use double-sided adhesive, then you have less mess, of course. The text is placed exactly on top of the other layer of text with a piece of vellum in between. The thick text on top, the single thin layer of text on the bottom. Now I glue the text that is cut out of glitter paper on top, but just a little bit shifted, so you can see a white shadow coming out from underneath. At the other text I paste the top layer also shifted, but to the bottom right side, so that you can see the white shadow from the top left. For the top one with the word happy, I glued the glitter text just so that the white shadow came out right below the word. This now needs to dry for a while. I stamped and die cut a stash of text with these clear stamps and matching die cut from ALINACRAFT. Super handy to have a supply of text strips like this that can go with anything. Out of this stash I now take 2 happy birthday stamp sentiments. I cut it in half, so I have a strip with the word birthday and a strip with the word happy. I can glue these together with the text. Let's see where it looks best. Meanwhile, I continue with the strip of paper that was left over. First, let's cut it nice and straight. The panel will then be placed on the outside of the card. On the inside, I want to glue the remaining piece. I think it's quite a wide piece and I would also like it to have something left over to stick on the envelope, so I cut it in half lengthwise. I cut it into 2 strips, one of which is 1 inch wide, so 2.5 centimeters. On the envelope I stick this widest piece. I mark off the size so I can trim it. And I do this by feel. I check that the edges are the same width on all sides. I stuck double-sided tape to the strip and only pulled off 2 little pieces. Now I align the strip. The part where the protective strip is still on touches the envelope, and that's where I can slide it. Once it's straight, I press the tape down and pull the strip loose. This is the easiest way to stick straight in one go. The other piece fits right on the inside of the card. It can be glued on either side. I chose the right side. This is the envelope and the inside of the card, but I have not yet glued the panel on. First I have to attach the vellum. We have die cut the happy out of glitter paper. That one could go on top. For now I choose the other one. It still needs to dry a little bit. I'm going to put glue on it in a moment, but first I'm going to measure where I want it. Then I can take a little piece off. Then I have my creasing board and I am going to carefully crease a fold in the vellum. very lightly, because you don't want to see a white line. When folding vellum around thick cardstock, this fold is not necessary, but the pattern paper is quite thin, so this fold line is very nice to fold nice and clean. Now it fits nicely around it. I put double-sided tape on the edges of the card panel, at the height of where the vellum will be, and glue on the bottom die cut. That bottom extra die cut leaves a little space between the card and the vellum, which makes it stick nicer. Now we need to glue the panel to the card base. I taped several strips of foam tape to a piece of protective film. I buy these rolls of foam tape at a local store. When I want to cut pieces off, it's always very handy to cut them smaller this way. Then I can cut a supply of narrow strips. I stick the narrow strips on the back of the panel. And so I glue the whole panel raised on the card. Should I stick the word happy above or under the word birthday? You can do both, but I like it better on top. I also stick the happy text on with foam tape. Actually, I need to let it dry under something heavy. The vellum tends to get bulgy from the wet glue. But then it's ready. This is how it turned out. I had also made this one. I used the other part of the text die cut. And I made it like this. I glued the word birthday underneath it. I have left the glitter word happy with the strip of vellum, which can be used on another card. Someday I will finish that, maybe on a darker background. If you are interested in any of the products I used for making these cards, you can find all the links for them in the description below this video. Just click on the word more to expand the text and you will find them. Also in the description box you will find links to other videos with much more inspiration for card making. I will link to other videos I made using pattern paper or background stamps. You might be interested in them. If you are watching this video through ALINACRAFT's channel, please also subscribe to my own channel, Cisvolk. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I hope you learned new things and are inspired to combine your pattern paper with a background stamp and some coloring. Have a nice day and I will see you next time. Bye bye!